I sold Mom's necklace, so what? Those were my daughter's exact words when I discovered she'd sold my dead wife's $85,000 heirloom for a spring break trip to Mykonos. I'm Otis Mitchell, and my 21-year-old daughter Emma had just made the biggest mistake of her life. See, Emma thought I was a broke failure, a pathetic widower who couldn't even afford her college tuition. She'd been posting videos online calling me worthless, mocking my grief, bragging about selling her mother's jewelry to fund her luxury lifestyle. What Emma didn't know? I wasn't just some insurance adjuster scraping by. I was the anonymous donor who'd been funding her full scholarship for 4 years, $2.3 million, all in her mother's memory. With one phone call, I could destroy everything she'd built, and I was about to. You're going to want to stick around for this one. Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from, because this story gets wild. Let me tell you how my spoiled daughter learned that disrespecting the dead comes with a price she never saw coming. To understand what happened, you need to know how Emma saw me. In her eyes, I was a failure. 52 years old, widowed insurance adjuster making $52,000 a year, living in a modest 2-bedroom apartment that cost me $1,800 a month, driving a 2018 Honda Civic with 127,000 miles on it. Sarah, my wife, had died 18 months earlier from cancer. Emma blamed me for not having enough money for better treatment, as if love could be measured in medical bills. The first sign of how little she respected me came at a family dinner last month. Emma brought 3 friends from Whitmore University. Designer clothes, expensive handbags, the works. Emma, your dad seems really humble, one girl said, eyeing our apartment. Emma laughed. Yeah, he's basically broke. That's why I'm on scholarship. She said it like I wasn't sitting right there. Emma, I said quietly. What? It's true. You couldn't afford my tuition if you worked 3 jobs. Her friends giggled. I said nothing. The second humiliation happened at a parent-teacher conference 2 weeks ago. Professor Harold Smith was discussing Emma's academic performance. She had a 3.7 GPA, excellent for most students, but Emma wanted perfection. Mr. Mitchell, Professor Smith said, Emma's scholarship requires maintaining a 3.5 minimum. She's well above that threshold. Scholarship? Emma snapped. Professor Smith, can we not discuss my financial aid in front of my father? It's embarrassing enough that he can't pay for college. Professor Smith looked confused. Emma, my father works in insurance, Emma interrupted. He adjusts claims for car accidents. Please don't make this more awkward than it already is. I watched Professor Smith's face change. He knew something Emma didn't, but he said nothing. After the meeting, Emma cornered me in the parking lot. Dad, seriously, stop coming to these things. You make me look pathetic. Everyone knows you're poor. Emma, your mother... Mom's dead, Dad, and you couldn't even afford to save her. That night I sat in Sarah's old office, surrounded by her books and papers. Sarah had been a beloved literature professor at Whitmore University for 15 years. Students adored her. Colleagues respected her. She'd left behind more than memories. She'd left behind a legacy I was determined to honor. On her desk was a photo from our wedding day. She wore her grandmother's necklace, a 1947 Cartier piece with 12 carats of diamonds in an Art Deco setting. The insurance policy listed its value at $85,000. Emma knew the necklace's worth. She'd had it appraised 3 times since Sarah's death, claiming she wanted to understand Mom's jewelry collection. I should have seen the warning signs. But I was grieving. I was trying to be the father Sarah would have wanted me to be. Patient, understanding, forgiving. I was also secretly honoring Sarah's memory in a way Emma couldn't imagine. After Sarah died, I inherited her family's trust fund, $4.2 million that I'd never told anyone about. Instead of changing my lifestyle, I'd been donating it anonymously to causes Sarah cared about, especially Whitmore University. The JM Foundation, named for Otis Mitchell, though no one knew that, had donated $2.3 million to the university over 5 years. The donation funded full scholarships for students from modest backgrounds. Students like Emma thought she was. But Emma was about to teach me that some people mistake kindness for weakness. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do is show them the difference. March 15th changed everything. I came home from work to find Emma packing designer luggage I'd never seen before. Going somewhere? I asked. Mykonos, she said, not looking up. Spring break trip with the girls. We rented a villa. That sounds expensive. She laughed. $12,000 for the week. Don't worry, Dad. I didn't ask you to pay for it. Something cold settled in my stomach. Emma, how did you pay for a $12,000 trip? That's when she held up her phone, showing me photos of a jewelry store receipt. $85,000. I sold Mom's necklace, she said casually. Finally put that old thing to good use. The room went silent except for the sound of my heart breaking. Emma, I whispered. That was your mother's grandmother's necklace. She wore it on our wedding day. Yeah, and now it's paying for my spring break. Mom's dead, Dad. She doesn't need jewelry. I stared at my daughter, this person I'd raised, loved, sacrificed for, and saw a stranger. Your mother wore that necklace every anniversary, every important moment of our marriage. Well, now it's bought me something important too. Emma zipped her suitcase. A trip away from this depressing apartment and your constant guilt trips about Mom. Emma, that necklace was supposed to be passed down to your children, to their children. It was history. She rolled her eyes. History doesn't pay for Instagram content, Dad. That's when she showed me her phone again. She'd already posted about the trip on Instagram. 47,000 followers. The caption read, "Finally going somewhere my broke dad could never afford. #Mechanis bound, #living my best life, #sorry not sorry." The comments were worse. Your dad must be so proud. Goals. How did you afford this? Emma's response. Sold some old family junk. Sometimes you have to cut dead weight to fly high. Dead weight. She was calling her mother's memory dead weight. Emma, I said, my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. Your mother loved you more than life itself. She worked 60-hour weeks to build her career at Whitmore so you could have opportunities. And where did it get her? Dead at 50 from cancer, married to a man who couldn't afford proper treatment. The treatment had nothing to do with money. Everything has to do with money, Dad. Mom just married the wrong person. She grabbed her suitcase and headed for the door. If I'm such a disappointment, I said quietly, why don't you pay for your own education too? Emma laughed. Actually laughed. Dad, I'm on full scholarship, academic merit, something you wouldn't understand. Your scholarship covers $58,000 a year in tuition plus housing. Yeah, because I'm smart, unlike some people in this family. Who do you think pays for scholarships, Emma? She paused at the door. You're rich people who want tax breaks. People with actual money, not whatever this is. She gestured around our modest apartment. What if I told you I know exactly who funds your scholarship? I'd say you're having another one of your weird grief episodes. Dad, you adjust car insurance claims. You don't know any rich people. She left for the airport that afternoon. For 3 days I watched her Instagram stories from Mykonos. Champagne on yachts, designer swimwear, private beach clubs, all funded by her mother's memory. The breaking point came on March 18th. Emma posted a video of herself wearing a new diamond bracelet, clearly expensive, with the caption, "When you realize selling your dead mom's old jewelry was the best decision ever. My dad called crying about family history, but honestly, some history needs to stay in the past. Living for today, #no regrets, #inheritance, #new money." The video had 50,000 views. Hundreds of comments praising her independence and smart financial decisions. One comment made my blood freeze. Your dad sounds pathetic. Good thing you got your mom's brains. Emma's response, literally, my dad's a total failure. Works some dead-end insurance job and lives like he's poor. Meanwhile, I'm out here making moves. Another comment, why do old people get so attached to objects? Emma, right? Like, my dad acts like this necklace was sacred or something. It's just diamonds. At least now they're funding something worthwhile instead of sitting in a drawer. That night I sat in Sarah's office holding the wedding photo where she wore that necklace. She doesn't understand, I whispered to the photo. She doesn't understand what you sacrificed, what you built, what you believed in. But Emma was about to learn. Because while she was flaunting her cruelty to 50,000 strangers, she had no idea that one of those strangers held the power to change her life forever. Me. Emma returned from Mykonos on March 22nd with a tan and an attitude. I was waiting in the university coffee shop when she walked in with 3 friends. They were loud, confident, treating the space like their personal social club. Emma, called Madison, one of her sorority sisters, show everyone the bracelet. Emma extended her wrist, showing off the diamond tennis bracelet. 25,000, worth every penny of Mom's old necklace. Your dad must have freaked, laughed another girl, Jessica. Oh my God, yes, he literally cried. Called it family history. Emma made air quotes. Like, get over it, you know? Parents are so dramatic about material things, Madison said. Especially poor parents, Emma replied. They think everything has sentimental value because they can't afford to replace it. That's when I stood up and walked over. Hi, Emma. She froze. Dad? What are you doing here? We need to talk. I'm busy. It's about your scholarship. Her friends exchanged glances. Emma's face flushed. Dad, not here. Why not here? Because it's embarrassing. Everyone knows I'm on financial aid. Madison whispered something to Jessica. They were enjoying the drama. Emma, I said quietly, do you know who funds your scholarship? Some foundation. I don't know. I don't care. The JM Foundation. Okay, so, do you know what JM stands for? Emma looked annoyed. Dad, I'm not doing this here. Otis Mitchell. Silence. What? Emma said. JM stands for Otis Mitchell. That's who funds your scholarship. Emma laughed nervously. Dad, you're embarrassing yourself. Your full scholarship is $58,000 annually. Yeah, because I earned it. Plus housing, $68,000 total. Dad, stop. Times 4 years, $272,000. You're being weird. Madison leaned forward. Emma, what's he talking about? My dad thinks he's rich, Emma said loudly. He has these episodes sometimes, since Mom died. The JM Foundation has donated $2.3 million to Whitmore University, I continued. Dad, seriously, stop. All in your mother's memory. That's impossible. Why is it impossible, Emma? Because you're poor. The coffee shop went quiet. Students at nearby tables turned to stare. You think I'm poor, I said. You are poor. You live in that apartment. You drive that car. What if I choose to live simply? Dad, you adjust insurance claims. What if that's not all I do? Emma stood up, agitated. Stop it, just stop. You're making me look crazy. I'm asking simple questions. The answers are obvious. You don't have money because you don't have money. But what if I do? Then where is it? Emma shouted. Everyone was staring now. Madison and Jessica looked mortified for her. It's in scholarships, I said calmly. For students like you. That's insane. Is it? Yes. You couldn't even afford Mom's cancer treatment. Your mother's treatment cost $400,000. Insurance covered 90%. See? You couldn't afford it. I paid the $40,000 out of pocket. Exactly. You struggled. I paid it in cash, Emma. She stared at me. No, you didn't. I have the receipts. You're lying. Why would I lie? Because you're desperate to look important, Madison whispered to Jessica again. This was getting uncomfortable. Emma, I said, do you want to see the bank statements? What bank statements? The ones showing the donations. You don't have donations. The JM Foundation account. That's not yours. Would you like me to call the bank? Dad, stop. Right now. We can call together. No. Why not? Because this is insane. I pulled out my phone. First National Bank. The number's right here. Emma grabbed my wrist. Don't. Why not? Because you're embarrassing me. Or because you're afraid I'm telling the truth? She let go of my wrist. Her friends were staring. You want to know the truth? Emma said, her voice rising again. The truth is, you're a failed insurance adjuster who couldn't save his wife, and now you're having some kind of breakdown where you think you're important. The coffee shop was completely silent now. Emma, I said softly, no, I'm tired of this. You live in denial because you can't accept that you're nobody. Mom was the successful one. She was the professor. You're just the guy who married up. Madison and Jessica looked like they wanted to disappear. And now, Emma continued, you're so desperate for respect that you're making up fantasies about being some secret donor. It's pathetic, Dad. I nodded slowly. I see. Do you finally see how embarrassing this is? I see that you need proof. I need you to accept reality. What if reality isn't what you think it is? Then prove it, Emma screamed. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Okay. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. Dr. Reynolds, this is Otis Mitchell. We need to meet. Emma went pale. Who's Dr. Reynolds? I put the phone away. The university president. Why would the university president take your call? Because she knows who I am. Emma's hands were shaking now. This isn't real. We'll see. But she was about to learn that the most dangerous people are the ones who never have to prove how powerful they are, until they choose to. The next morning, I decided to pay a visit to campus. I hadn't been to Whitmore University since Sarah's memorial service 18 months ago. Walking through the main quad brought back memories. Sarah rushing between classes, students gathered around her office during office hours, The way she lit up when talking about literature. I was heading toward the administration building when I heard a familiar voice. Mr. Mitchell? I turned to see Dr. Patricia Reynolds, the university president, walking toward me with a warm smile. She was in her late 50s, impeccably dressed, with the kind of presence that commanded respect without demanding it. Patricia, I said, extending my hand. I was so sorry to hear about the incident with Emma yesterday, she said quietly. Professor Smith called me this morning. Word travels fast. When it involves family members of our major donors, yes, it does. We were standing near the fountain in the center of campus. Students walked past, but none paid attention to our conversation. I've been thinking about our discussion, Dr. Reynolds continued, about increasing the JM Foundation scholarship criteria. The character assessment component? Exactly. Emma's behavior yesterday has raised some concerns among the scholarship committee. I nodded. Sarah always believed character mattered more than grades. Your wife was a remarkable woman. Her students still talk about her classes. Dr. Reynolds paused. Otis, you know the scholarship committee meets Thursday to review all current recipients. I'm aware. Emma's name has been flagged for review. For what reason? Social media posts. Public behavior that reflects poorly on the university. The scholarship agreement includes a moral conduct clause. I see. Of course, as the Foundation's primary contributor, you have significant input on these decisions. A group of students walked past. One of them looked like Madison, Emma's friend from yesterday. She glanced at me with recognition, but didn't approach. Dr. Reynolds, I said, I'd prefer to remain anonymous for now. Of course. Though I should mention we have the Donor Appreciation Gala next Thursday evening. Your annual invitation is waiting in my office. I haven't attended before. I understand, but this year we're honoring scholarship recipients. Emma will be there as a student representative. An interesting coincidence. I'll consider it, I said. Wonderful. Oh, and Otis? Dr. Reynolds smiled. The university photographer will be taking pictures for our annual report. We'll need updated photos of our major donors for the foundation wall in the library. The foundation wall. Didn't Professor Smith mention it? We're unveiling plaques for all donors who've contributed over $1 million. The JM Foundation plaque will be quite prominent. After Dr. Reynolds left, I walked to the library. The construction for the new donor wall was obvious. Scaffolding, plastic sheeting, work tables covered with bronze plaques. I could see several plaques waiting to be installed. The Henderson Family Foundation, the Morrison Trust, the Sullivan Memorial Fund, and there, wrapped in protective paper, was a plaque that made my chest tight. The JM Foundation, in loving memory of Professor Sarah Mitchell, devoted educator and beloved wife, established 2019, total contribution $2.3 million and growing. Below that, in smaller text, funding full scholarships for students demonstrating academic excellence and moral character. Moral character. I was still staring at the plaque when someone approached from behind. Beautiful, isn't it? I turned to see Professor Harold Smith, Emma's scholarship committee advisor. He was in his mid-40s, with kind eyes and the slightly rumpled appearance of someone who cared more about ideas than appearances. Professor Smith. Mr. Mitchell. I was hoping I'd run into you. He gestured toward the plaque. The library wants to schedule the unveiling ceremony. As the Foundation's representative, you'll need to be present. When? Thursday evening, during the gala. He paused. Emma will be receiving recognition for her academic achievements. It should be a special night for your family. Should be? Professor Smith studied my face. Otis, yesterday in the coffee shop. Emma doesn't know, does she? Know what? Who you are. What you've done for this university. For her. I looked back at the plaque. Sarah's name engraved in bronze, surrounded by words about moral character and scholarship. Emma thinks I'm a failure, I said quietly. You're the reason she has an education. She earned her grades, but she wouldn't have had the opportunity without you, without Sarah's legacy. Sometimes people need to learn where their blessings come from. Professor Smith nodded. The scholarship committee has raised concerns about Emma's recent behavior. Her social media posts about selling family heirlooms, her public comments about. Well, about you. What kind of concerns? The kind that could affect her scholarship status. Character clauses exist for a reason. That evening I found an envelope that had been slipped under my apartment door. University letterhead. Inside was my formal invitation to the Donor Appreciation Gala, and attached to it, a note from Dr. Reynolds. Otis, the scholarship committee will meet at 6 p.m. Thursday before the gala. Emma's case will be reviewed. Your presence would be valuable. Patricia. I sat in Sarah's office holding the invitation. In 3 days, Emma would be at a gala celebrating scholarship recipients, including herself. She'd be surrounded by the university community that she thought I could never afford to join. She had no idea she'd be serving at a party for donors who included her own father, or that her academic future hung in the balance. But she was about to find out that respect isn't optional when your entire life depends on someone else's generosity. Thursday afternoon, Emma made a critical mistake. She decided to crash the scholarship committee meeting. I was sitting in the university boardroom with 5 other committee members, Dr. Reynolds, Professor Smith, and 3 faculty representatives. The mahogany table was set with folders containing scholarship reviews, including Emma's thick file. We'd been discussing the character assessment criteria for 20 minutes when the door burst open. "Excuse me," Emma announced, marching into the room like she owned it. "I need to speak with this committee." Dr. Reynolds looked up, startled. "Miss Mitchell, this is a closed meeting." "About me, apparently." Emma was wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. The diamond bracelet caught the light as she gestured. "Someone told me my scholarship was being reviewed." Professor Smith cleared his throat. "Emma, the proper procedure—" "The proper procedure is discrimination," Emma interrupted. "You're targeting me because of my family's financial status." I said nothing. The other committee members exchanged glances. "Miss Mitchell," Dr. Reynolds said carefully, "your scholarship is being reviewed due to concerns about conduct that reflects poorly on the university." "What conduct? Being successful? Having nice things?" "Your social media posts," Professor Smith said quietly. Emma laughed. "My Instagram? Are you kidding me?" Dr. Reynolds opened Emma's file. "You posted a video calling your father pathetic and a total failure. You mocked old people for valuing family heirlooms. That's called free speech." "It's called poor character," said Dr. Margaret Franklin, one of the faculty representatives. Emma's face flushed. "Poor character? I maintain a 3.7 GPA while working part-time and managing a social media presence. What exactly is poor about that?" "You sold family jewelry to fund luxury vacations," Professor Smith said. "So what? It was my inheritance." "Worth $85,000, Dr. Reynolds added, reading from the file, "which I used responsibly for travel and experiences." "You posted that your dead mother's jewelry was old junk," said Dr. Franklin. Emma's confidence wavered slightly. "I was being dramatic for engagement." "You called your father a failure publicly," Professor Smith continued. "That's between me and my family. When you accept a scholarship from this university," Dr. Reynolds said, "your behavior reflects on our entire institution. My behavior is exemplary." "You publicly mocked the concept of honoring deceased family members," Dr. Franklin read from her notes. "Some history needs to stay in the past. Those were your words." Emma glanced around the room, finally noticing that everyone was looking at her with disapproval. "This is ridiculous. You're punishing me for being honest about my life." "We're evaluating whether you embody the values this scholarship was created to support," Dr. Reynolds said. "Which are what, exactly?" Professor Smith leaned forward. "Academic excellence and moral character, respect for family, respect for sacrifice, respect for the opportunities you've been given." "I respect my opportunities. I work hard for my grades." "Do you know who funds your scholarship, Miss Mitchell?" Dr. Reynolds asked. "Some foundation." "The JM Foundation, established in memory of Professor Sarah Mitchell." Emma went very still. "My mother. Your mother was beloved by this university. Her colleagues remember her as someone who valued family, history, and respect above all else." "What does that have to do with my scholarship?" "The foundation was created by someone who loved her very much," Professor Smith said gently. "Someone who wanted to honor her memory by helping students who share her values." "Okay, but someone who has watched you publicly dishonor everything she stood for," Dr. Franklin added. Emma's voice got smaller. "I don't understand." Dr. Reynolds closed the file. "The JM Foundation has contributed $2.3 million to this university. The donor specifically requested that scholarships go to students who demonstrate both academic achievement and moral character. I have moral character. You sold your mother's wedding jewelry and called it old junk," Professor Smith said quietly. "You called your father a failure for grieving his wife. Dr. Franklin added. You mocked the concept of family history and respect for deceased relatives, Dr. Reynolds finished. Emma looked around the room desperately. This is personal. You're targeting me because you knew my mother. We're evaluating you because your behavior violates the spirit of your scholarship, Dr. Reynolds said. What behavior? Living my life? Being independent? Being cruel, Professor Smith said simply. The word hung in the air. Emma's face went white. Cruel? You posted a video calling your grieving father pathetic. You sold your mother's jewelry and bragged about it online. You mocked anyone who values family history as old people who need to get over it. That's not... I didn't mean... You meant every word, Dr. Franklin said. It's all documented. Emma was starting to panic now. Look, maybe I was having a bad day. People say things... For 3 weeks, Dr. Reynolds interrupted. Multiple posts, consistent messaging. This wasn't a bad day, Miss Mitchell. This is who you are. No, it's not. Then who are you? Professor Smith asked. Emma opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time in years, she had no answer. The scholarship committee will make its final decision at tonight's gala, Dr. Reynolds announced. Miss Mitchell, you're expected to attend as a student representative. Will the donor be there? Emma asked quietly. The JM Foundation representative will be present, yes. Can I apologize? Explain? Professor Smith looked sad. Emma, some actions can't be undone. Some words can't be taken back. But I can change. Can you? Dr. Franklin asked. Can you bring back your mother's necklace? Can you undo the public humiliation of your father? Can you restore the family history you called worthless? Emma started crying. Real tears, not the performative kind she used for social media. I didn't know, she whispered. Didn't know what? Dr. Reynolds asked. That anyone was watching, that it mattered. Everything matters when you're representing something bigger than yourself, Professor Smith said. The scholarship wasn't just about your grades, Emma, Dr. Reynolds added. It was about your character, your potential to honor your mother's memory. Instead, you've dishonored it publicly and repeatedly, Dr. Franklin concluded. Emma wiped her eyes, smearing her makeup. What happens now? Now you attend the gala, Dr. Reynolds said. You meet the donor whose generosity has funded your education for 4 years, and you face the consequences of your choices. Will I lose my scholarship? That depends on the donor. Emma looked around the room one more time, seeing these people clearly for the first time. They weren't enemies. They were educators who had tried to guide her and had watched her choose cruelty over character. I messed up, she whispered. Yes, Professor Smith said gently. You did. As Emma left the boardroom, I remained silent. In 4 hours, she would discover that the donor whose respect she needed to earn was the same man she'd spent weeks calling a failure. The man she'd humiliated. The man whose love she'd taken for granted. Her father. The university ballroom was elegant in the way only old money institutions can manage. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over 200 guests. Donors, faculty, distinguished alumni, and scholarship recipients. Emma stood near the back with other student representatives, looking nervous in her formal dress. She had no idea she was about to serve drinks to the man who controlled her future. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Reynolds announced from the podium, welcome to our annual Donor Appreciation Gala. Tonight we celebrate the generous supporters who make education possible for deserving students. I watched from my table near the front, Table 1, reserved for major donors. Emma couldn't see me from her position by the service station. Before dinner, Dr. Reynolds continued, I'd like to recognize our scholarship recipients who are serving as hosts tonight. These students understand that generosity flows both ways. They give back to the community that has invested in them. Emma stepped forward with the other students, each carrying trays of champagne. She was trying to look confident, but I could see the anxiety in her movements. Our student hosts will serve our distinguished guests while we recognize the foundations and individuals who have transformed lives through education. Emma began moving through the crowd, offering champagne to donors and faculty. She was professional, smiling, playing the part of the grateful scholarship recipient. If only she knew who was watching. Our first recognition goes to the Henderson Family Foundation, Dr. Reynolds announced. 25 years of supporting first-generation college students. Applause filled the room. Emma continued serving, working her way toward the front tables. Next, we honor the Morrison Trust, whose support for the arts has enriched our campus community for over a decade. More applause. Emma was 3 tables away from me now, close enough that I could hear her polite conversation with guests. "Such a lovely event," an elderly woman said as Emma offered champagne. "Thank you," Emma replied graciously. "The university has been so generous with my education. I'm grateful to be here." The irony was perfect. She was grateful to an institution she didn't know she'd nearly been expelled from. "And now," Dr. Reynolds said, her voice carrying special warmth, "I'd like to recognize a foundation that holds particular meaning for our community. The JM Foundation, established in memory of one of our most beloved faculty members, Professor Sarah Mitchell." Emma froze mid-pour. Champagne spilled onto the tablecloth. "Professor Mitchell taught literature here for 15 years, Dr. Reynolds continued. "Her passion for education, her commitment to her students, and her belief in the power of character made her unforgettable." Emma's hands were shaking now. She set down the champagne bottle and looked toward the podium. "The JM Foundation has donated $2.3 million to establish scholarships for students who demonstrate both academic excellence and moral character, the two qualities Professor Mitchell valued most." I could see Emma scanning the room, trying to identify the mysterious donor. "Tonight I'm honored to finally introduce the man behind the JM Foundation, a man who has chosen to remain anonymous for 5 years while quietly transforming student lives." Emma's face went pale. She was starting to understand. "Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Otis Mitchell." I stood up. The room erupted in applause, but I only watched Emma. Her face cycled through confusion, disbelief, shock, and finally, devastating realization. The champagne tray slipped from her hands and crashed to the floor. "Dad," she whispered, though I was too far away to hear her. I could read her lips. I walked to the podium while 200 people applauded. Emma stood frozen among the broken glass and spilled champagne, staring at me like I was a ghost. "Thank you," I said into the microphone. My voice was calm, steady. 5 years ago, I lost my wife, Sarah. She was the finest person I've ever known, as an educator, a colleague, and a human being. Emma was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. "Sarah believed that character mattered more than credentials, that respect was earned through actions, not inherited through bloodlines, that education without moral development was just expensive training." The room was silent except for Emma's quiet sobbing. "The JM Foundation exists to honor her memory by supporting students who embody her values, students who understand that privilege comes with responsibility, that opportunities should inspire gratitude, not entitlement." Professor Smith was watching Emma with concern. Other guests were noticing her distress. This year, the scholarship committee faced a difficult decision. One of our recipients publicly mocked the concept of family history, calling deceased relatives' memory dead weight, called family heirlooms old junk better sold for vacation money. Emma collapsed into a chair, her face in her hands. This same student publicly humiliated a family member for being poor and pathetic, someone whose love and sacrifice made her education possible. The room was uncomfortable now. People were putting together the pieces. The scholarship agreement includes a character clause because Sarah believed education should build better human beings, not just better credentialed ones. Dr. Reynolds stepped forward. "Otis, perhaps—" "The student I'm referring to," I continued, "is my daughter, Emma Mitchell." Gasps echoed through the ballroom. Every head turned toward Emma, who was sobbing openly now, surrounded by broken glass and spilled champagne. "Emma has maintained excellent grades," I said, my voice still steady. "She's intelligent, capable, articulate. But intelligence without character is dangerous. Capability without respect is destructive." Emma stood up shakily, her formal dress stained with champagne. "Dad, please." For 3 weeks, Emma used social media to mock my grief, dismiss her mother's memory, and brag about selling family heirlooms to fund luxury vacations. The room was dead silent. Faculty members looked horrified. Donors were whispering among themselves. She called me a total failure and a pathetic old man whose love for his deceased wife was embarrassing. "I'm sorry," Emma called out, her voice breaking. "I'm so sorry." She posted videos calling her mother's jewelry old junk and encouraging her followers to cut dead weight from their lives. Emma was walking toward me now, pushing through the crowd, desperate to reach the podium. The character clause in her scholarship agreement states that recipients must demonstrate respect for family, appreciation for sacrifice, and honor toward the opportunities they've received. "Dad, please, I didn't know." She didn't know because she never asked. She assumed. She judged. She decided I was worthless based on appearances. Emma reached the front of the room. "I was wrong. I was completely wrong." I looked down at her from the podium. Were you wrong, Emma, or were you honest? I was angry. I was grieving too. Grief doesn't excuse cruelty. I know that now. Professor Smith stepped forward. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. No, I said firmly. Emma made her feelings public. She can face the consequences publicly. The room held its breath. Emma, do you remember what you said about people who honor deceased family members? She was sobbing too hard to answer. You said they needed to get over it because history doesn't pay for Instagram content. I was wrong. You said I was a failure who couldn't even save his wife, that I was broke and pathetic and embarrassing. I didn't mean it. You posted it multiple times over 3 weeks. You encouraged 47,000 followers to mock family loyalty. What part didn't you mean? Emma fell to her knees. All of it. I didn't mean any of it. Then why did you say it? Because I was hurt. Because I missed Mom and I didn't know how to deal with it. So you decided to hurt me instead? Yes, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I stepped down from the podium and walked toward her. The room watched in absolute silence. Emma, stand up. She struggled to her feet, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Your mother loved you more than life itself, I said quietly. Every penny she earned, every hour she worked, every sacrifice she made was for you. I know. She wore her grandmother's necklace on every important day of our marriage because it connected her to the women who came before her, women who sacrificed so she could have opportunities. Emma nodded, unable to speak. When she was dying, she made me promise to take care of you, to guide you, to help you become the woman she knew you could be. Dad, I honored that promise by funding your education anonymously. I wanted you to succeed on your own merit, but I also wanted to ensure you had every opportunity. I ruined it, Emma whispered. You showed your true character, I corrected. The question now is whether that character can change. Dr. Reynolds cleared her throat. The scholarship committee has reached a decision. The room tensed. Miss Mitchell's scholarship is hereby suspended pending a character review period of 1 year. Emma's legs gave out. Professor Smith caught her arm. During that year, Dr. Reynolds continued, she may apply for reinstatement by demonstrating genuine character growth and public service that honors her mother's memory. What does that mean? Emma whispered. I knelt down to her level. It means you have 1 year to prove you understand what your mother died believing. That character matters more than credentials? That respect isn't optional. That gratitude isn't weakness. That family legacy is sacred. Emma looked around the room at 200 people who had just witnessed her humiliation and downfall. How do I prove that? You figure it out, I said, standing up. Without my help, without my money, without the privilege you took for granted. Will you ever forgive me? I looked at my daughter, this young woman who had caused me such pain but who was still the child Sarah had loved so deeply. Emma, forgiveness isn't the question. The question is whether you can forgive yourself for dishonoring the woman who gave you everything. I walked back toward my table, leaving Emma kneeling among the broken glass. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Reynolds announced, dinner is served. The crowd slowly began to move, but I could feel them watching Emma, who remained on the floor, finally understanding the weight of her choices. Real power, I had learned, isn't about revenge. It's about consequences. The next morning, Emma's academic probation became official. I was reviewing insurance claims at my desk when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Emma's number. Dad? Her voice was small, defeated. Nothing like the confident influencer who had mocked me 3 weeks earlier. Emma, the university sent me a letter. Official notice of scholarship suspension. I see. It says I have to pay back this semester's tuition and housing. $68,000. That's correct. Dad, I don't have $68,000. I know. Silence on the line. The letter also says I'm on academic probation for conduct violations. Yes. And that I have to move out of campus housing by Monday. Where will you go? I don't know. Madison and Jessica won't return my calls. Nobody wants to be associated with me after last night. I imagine not. Dad, everyone was filming. The whole thing is on TikTok. Instagram. I'm being called the worst daughter ever. Actions have consequences, Emma. But this is destroying my life. No, Emma. Your choices destroyed your life. This is just the bill coming due. She started crying again. What am I supposed to do? What anyone does when they lose their privileges. You work, you earn, you build character through struggle. But I've never had a real job. Then you'll learn. Dad, please, can't you help me? Can't you talk to the scholarship committee? I am the scholarship committee, Emma. I'm the donor whose generosity you mocked. But you're my father. Yes, and a father's job is to raise a daughter who honors her mother's memory. I failed at that. Now you have to succeed on your own. More silence. The letter says I can apply for reinstatement after 1 year of demonstrated character growth. That's correct. What does that mean exactly? It means you spend the next year proving you understand what your mother believed, that you can contribute to the world instead of just taking from it. How? Figure it out. Dad, I'm scared. For the first time since this started, my voice softened slightly. Good. Fear can teach you things comfort never could. Will you at least let me come home? I considered this. You can stay in your room for 2 weeks while you find a job and an apartment. But the rules are different now. What rules? No social media about our family? No friends over? No expensive purchases you can't explain. You contribute to household expenses or you leave. How much? $800 a month. Rent, utilities, groceries. Dad, I don't have $800. Then you'd better find a job quickly. What kind of job am I supposed to get? I'm a college student. You're a college dropout with no work experience and a viral reputation for being ungrateful. You'll take whatever job you can find. The harsh truth hung between us. Emma, I said more gently, your mother worked in restaurants to pay for her education. She cleaned houses. She tutored children. She did whatever it took to build something meaningful. I know, but no buts. If you want to honor her memory, you start by learning what she learned, that nothing worthwhile comes without sacrifice. And if I do all this, if I work and pay rent and prove I've changed, then in 1 year you can apply for readmission. The scholarship committee will review your case. Will you influence their decision? I'll recuse myself. Your readmission will depend entirely on what you accomplish and who you become. That's not fair. Emma, fair would have been losing your scholarship the day you posted that first cruel video. Fair would have been facing consequences 3 weeks ago. You're getting mercy you don't deserve, and a second chance you haven't earned. Long pause. I looked up the cost of tuition without scholarship. $58,000 a year. Yes. How would I ever afford that? Student loans, work-study programs, academic scholarships based on merit and character, the same way millions of students do it. But I had it so easy before. Yes, you did, and you threw it away. I want to fix this, Dad. Then fix it, but understand that fixing it means becoming someone entirely different than who you've been. Someone like Mom. Someone who would make your mother proud. After I hung up, I sat in my office for a long time. Sarah's photo smiled at me from the desk, wearing that beautiful necklace on our wedding day. She's going to have to earn it, I whispered to the photo. Just like you did. Justice, I realized, isn't about punishment. It's about creating consequences that teach the lessons love alone couldn't. Emma had 1 year to prove she could learn. Emma's fall from grace was swift and complete. By Monday morning, she had moved out of her sorority house and into her childhood bedroom. The room looked different now, smaller, shabbier than the luxury dormitory she'd grown accustomed to. Her social media following began hemorrhaging immediately. From 47,000 followers to 31,000 in 3 days. The comments were brutal. Imagine calling your dad poor when he's literally paying for your education. The audacity of this girl is unreal. Her poor father, she doesn't deserve him. Main character syndrome in full display. Emma deleted most of her posts, but screenshots lived forever. The video of her calling me a total failure had been shared across platforms with captions like, "Spoiled brat gets reality check," and "When keeping it real goes wrong." Her friend group evaporated overnight. Madison and Jessica blocked her number. Her sorority sisters treated her like she was contagious. The social capital she'd spent years building disappeared in a single evening. "Dad," she said Tuesday morning, sitting at our small kitchen table with a cup of coffee and the local newspaper's classified ads, "I've been looking for jobs. And it's harder than I thought." She'd circled several possibilities. Waitress positions, retail sales, office assistant roles, entry-level jobs that required no experience but paid barely above minimum wage. "Most places want full-time availability," she continued. "But I'm still technically enrolled for the rest of the semester. I have 3 classes to finish if I want any hope of readmission." "Then you'll work part-time and figure out how to manage. Part-time jobs don't pay enough to cover $68,000 in back tuition." "No, they don't." So how am I supposed to pay it back? Payment plans, multiple jobs, selling things you don't need. She looked around our modest apartment. I don't have anything valuable left. I sold Mom's necklace, remember? The weight of that decision was hitting her daily now. The one thing she could have used to dig herself out of this hole was gone forever. Thursday afternoon, she came home exhausted from her first job interview. How did it go? I asked. Terrible. The manager Googled my name and found the videos from the gala. What did she say? She asked if I was the girl who called her father a failure after he paid for her college. When I said yes, she said they were looking for someone with better character. Emma collapsed on the couch. This is following me everywhere. Actions have consequences. But it's not fair. Other people make mistakes and move on. Other people don't publicly humiliate their families for social media content. She was quiet for a moment. I got a job. Where? Campus dining hall, serving food to other students. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. Emma would be serving the same students she'd once looked down on as scholarship recipients. $8.50 an hour, 20 hours a week. That's about $600 a month after taxes. It's a start. Dad, at this rate, it'll take me 9 years to pay back the tuition debt. Then you'd better find additional income sources. Over the following weeks, I watched Emma's transformation begin. Not the dramatic character growth she would need for readmission, but the basic reality check that comes from having to work for everything. She took a second job cleaning offices on weekends, $4 an hour and tips at a coffee shop near campus. She sold her designer clothes online, the ones purchased with her mother's necklace money, and slowly began paying down her debt. Her Instagram posts changed completely. Instead of luxury lifestyle content, she posted awkwardly about finding herself and learning life lessons. Her engagement rates plummeted. Brand partnership offers disappeared. I used to get paid $2,000 for a single sponsored post, she told me one evening, counting her tip money. Now I make that in 3 weeks of actual work. Which feels more honest? She considered this. The work, I guess, but it's so much harder. Most honest things are. The hardest part for Emma wasn't the physical labor or financial stress. It was the social isolation. Students on campus recognized her as the girl from the viral videos. Some were sympathetic, others were cruel. Most just avoided her entirely. I eat lunch alone every day, she said one Friday evening. I never realized how much of my identity was built on having people around me. What's it like being alone with yourself? Terrible. I don't like who I am when no one's watching. That's where character develops, in the moments when no one else is watching. How do I know if I'm changing? When you stop asking that question. By the end of the month, Emma had paid her first $800 in rent and managed to make a small payment on her tuition debt. It wasn't much, but it was earned through her own labor. I understand now, she said one evening, why Mom worked so hard, why she valued things differently. Do you? Everything I have now I earned. It feels different. Different how? Like it belongs to me, really belongs to me. It was the first sign that Emma might be learning what her mother had always known, that the most valuable things in life aren't given, they're earned. 6 months later, Emma knocked on my office door. I looked up from my desk to see a different person than the one who had sold her mother's necklace. Emma's designer clothes were gone, replaced by simple work attire. Her manicured nails were short and practical. She looked tired, but somehow more solid, more real. Dad, can we talk? Of course. She sat in the chair across from my desk, the same chair where Sarah used to grade papers. I wanted to show you something. Emma handed me a bank statement. In 6 months, she'd paid down $8,000 of her tuition debt, working 3 jobs while finishing her remaining coursework. I also started volunteering. Where? The women's shelter downtown. They needed someone to help with intake paperwork. It's not much, but I met a woman there last week, Janet. Her husband took everything when she left. Her jewelry, her grandmother's china, even photos of her grandmother. She said losing those family things was almost worse than losing the money. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I finally understood what I did. Really understood. It wasn't just about the necklace's value. It was about destroying something irreplaceable, something that connected you to Mom, and Mom to her family, and all of us to something bigger than ourselves. I nodded but said nothing. I can't get the necklace back. I can't undo the hurt I caused, but I want to try to become someone who would never do something like that again. How? I'm applying for readmission in the fall, not for the scholarship, I know I don't deserve that yet. I'll take out loans and keep working. But I want to finish college. I want to study social work. Why social work? Because I want to help people who've lost everything rebuild their lives. People like Janet. People like me. I studied my daughter's face. The entitlement was gone. The casual cruelty had been replaced by something approaching humility. "There's something else," she said quietly. "I want to change my major, from communications to literature." Literature? Like Mom. I want to understand what she loved about it, what she was trying to teach through her classes. For the first time in months, I smiled. "Your mother would be proud of who you're becoming." Emma wiped her eyes. "I hope so. I have a lot more work to do." "We all do. Dad, yes. Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I deserved it." "That's what fathers do, Emma. We hold the line until our children find their way back to it." Respect, I had learned, isn't inherited through blood. It's earned through choices. And sometimes the most loving thing a parent can do is let their child face the consequences of choosing poorly, so they can learn to choose better. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. Please let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And remember, the most powerful word in any relationship is respect. But it's also the most fragile.